What is good, Ninja? OG over here from Player Essence, and welcome to another PE News. Hopefully you guys' day is going great. I am doing fine myself, and we got some awesome information to go over from SEGA Ages in terms of potential Dreamcast and SEGA Saturn games coming over to Nintendo Switch, in addition to Valkyria Chronicles 4 news and original Valkyria Chronicles news as well. So let's go ahead and get right into this. And we are starting off with SEGA Ages, the lineup to include Saturn and Dreamcast games if the initial titles are successful. So I know exactly what SEGA is doing here, and they are dangling that Dreamcast and SEGA Saturn carrot in front of Nintendo Switch fans. And guys, it's going to work. It's definitely going to work. But let's go ahead and get into this news here. So we do know that 15 titles are coming in the lineup when it comes to the SEGA Ages line of games coming to the Nintendo Switch, which I'll explain that a little bit more in terms of what that is. Now, this isn't a collection of 15 games. This is a branding of classic titles that are going to be branded that way, that are going to be brought over to the Nintendo Switch eShop. So we do know about Thunder Force 4. We also know about Sonic the Hedgehog. And I think there's one more game, Phantasy Star. Yes, that is the game. Now, today we did learn that if the original SEGA Ages titles are successful, that they're going to bring over more. So think of it as like the NEO line of games that are coming over. Think of it as that. Not a traditional virtual console store or anything like that, but just basically a branding or a line of games like the NEO classics that come over, but they're just doing that with SEGA. So these are all going to be individually priced titles and everything, but they'll have the moniker of SEGA Ages, and they will include improvements and enhancements to the game, which I have a whole separate video when it comes to this stuff. Trust me guys, just wait a little bit longer for that one, depending on when you watch this one here. But yes, we could be getting SEGA Dreamcast and SEGA Saturn games, and that would be absolutely hype. And this is the reason why, guys. SEGA Saturn and SEGA Dreamcast had some of the best games out there for retro dudes. I mean, there are some great titles across the SEGA Dreamcast. There are some great games even on the SEGA Saturn that people just didn't get to play. Both of these systems were pretty much commercial flops, so we didn't get as many games as people would have liked for them, considering what these systems were doing. But there was a lot of cool stuff that these systems brought to the table that people just didn't get to play. There were some great games ahead of their time in terms of when they released. So if these original titles are successful, we're going to see a lot more of them. And based on the Neo Geo line of games, how there's been over 1 million units sold in terms of digital sales of all the different Neo Geo games, I'm thinking all of these old SEGA games are going to have a chance to do really well, because SEGA was a lot more popular than Neo Geo. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table, and I would expect there to be Dreamcast games in addition to SEGA Saturn games on the Nintendo Switch at some point late 2018 this year, or even into 2019. I think they can bring over a lot of cool stuff. So some stuff that I would like to see, obviously it would be stuff like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I think that'd be a cool game to bring over to Nintendo Switch. There are just so many different classics out there that were on the Dreamcast that I would love to see brought over. But probably the biggest game that I would like to see, just because I want to play it on my Nintendo Switch, would be the original Skies of Arcadia. That would probably be my biggest game that I'd like to see. I would just want that on there, since SEGA doesn't want to bring over the GameCube version Legends, and they're saying, hey, maybe we can bring over some SEGA Dreamcast games. Skies of Arcadia would be my #1 draft pick for this. So I know there's a lot more games out there. There's Crazy Taxi, there's Jet Grind Radio, Jet Set Radio, whatever the case is, all that stuff. I think fans would love all that. They would eat this stuff up. I mean, they're eating up Neo Geo games, and like nobody bought the Neo Geo because of how expensive it was. So I would expect that these games are going to do really well, and I'm going to buy a couple of them just so I can kind of do my part just a little bit, because I really want to see some of these lost SEGA Saturn games to come over as well. There was like Panzer Dragoon, stuff like that coming over to Nintendo Switch. That would be absolutely dope, but I know there's some issues with the source code for that game. Maybe they lost it, I'm not really sure. But either way, bring over SEGA Saturn games, bring over SEGA Dreamcast games. I want some of those RPGs to come over to the Nintendo Switch as well from the SEGA Saturn. So what do you guys think about this news here? I know Dreamcast guy almost died of a heart attack when he heard about this news. No, I'm joking, he didn't almost die, but he was really hyped about it on Twitter. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, and moving on to some more more hype SEGA news, and SEGA has pretty much dominated the gaming news for the past few days because there was nothing else going on. So the original Valkyria Chronicles, one of my favorite games of all time, probably my top 100 games, is coming to Nintendo Switch this fall in Japan. Now it's due out for the Nintendo eShop. There's not going to be a physical release in Japan. There's some more details about this game as well. So SEGA has announced Valkyria Chronicles for the Nintendo Switch at SEGA Fest 2018. It will launch via the Nintendo Switch eShop this fall in Japan for 1,990 yen. Now, like Valkyria Chronicles Remastered for the PlayStation 4, Valkyria Chronicles for the Nintendo Switch will include all of the game's downloadable content, which is awesome because this game has some pretty cool downloadable content. Now, there's a lot of people talking about this, saying that they hope that this game gets localized, but I think a lot of people don't understand that Valkyria Chronicles 1 and Valkyria Chronicles 4 are set in the same timeline and set in the same kind of like time period, so they would want people to play the original Valkyria Chronicles and play Valkyria Chronicles 4 to drum up interest, and that's just not in terms of in Japan. In the US, they want that as well because they took the time to bring Valkyria Chronicles 4 to add it in, which is why it's coming later down the line, and we're going to talk about Valkyria Chronicles 4 in terms of what's going on there in Japan. But they took the time to add that platform in because they feel that it's a good fit for what they're trying to do, whether it's visually, whether it's with the gameplay, in terms of what they're doing there. So yeah, they're probably going to bring that over to the US since it's already fully localized, guys. Like, I don't understand why this is even people saying I hope and maybe, or I don't know if they're going to localize. It's already localized. The game is localized in English on multiple different platforms when it comes to everything. It's localized when it comes to the PS3, the PS4, the PC version. Why would they not localize it? It's already done. All they have to do is just put the game out. Everything's done. They don't have to pay for the localization almost on the Nintendo Switch eShop. They just have to pay whatever fee it is to bring it to the region that they're going to bring it to, but they're already bringing it to the Japan eShop, so this is not even a question that this is going to come over since it's already done. It's already localized on multiple different systems from PC to PS3 and PS4. They don't have to do any extra work when it comes to it. They just plug that in terms of their localization. They're already making the game, so it doesn't make sense to me for people to even be saying, I hope and I wonder if it's going to come over. It's going to come over. Like, it's going to come over. So they want people to play the original game, especially on the Nintendo Switch, if they're going through this much trouble to bring it to the Switch and add that platform in when it clearly wasn't planned for the Nintendo Switch. So those are my thoughts on that. Now, what do you guys think about the original Valkyria Chronicles coming over to Nintendo Switch? I'm super hyped about it. I think it's awesome. I love the original Valkyria Chronicles. I will be buying it again on the Nintendo Switch eShop if I have to. I mean, I might get a download code for it, or I might get a review copy, but I'll buy it if I have to buy it. It's not too expensive in terms of the price here, and I'm looking forward to playing that original Valkyria Chronicles anywhere that I want. It's a fantastic game. I've played it on this channel on the PS4. I have it on the PC and haven't even booted it up, but I liked it so much I even bought it again just because I wanted to show SEGA that we really want Valkyria Chronicles in terms of a new one on the Nintendo Switch, or just a new Valkyria Chronicles in general. So I'm hyped about this, and I think that it's going to come over, obviously, based on everything that I've said here. So what do you guys think about Valkyria Chronicles coming over to Nintendo Switch in terms of a fall release date in Japan? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final article for this video, we have Valkyria Chronicles 4 for the Nintendo Switch has been delayed in Japan to the fall. So it's lining up with the Western release when it comes to it. So the Nintendo Switch version of Valkyria Chronicles 4 has been delayed from its previously announced summer release window to this fall in Japan. SEGA announced at SEGA Fest 2018. Valkyria Chronicles 4 for the Nintendo Switch will include a voucher to purchase the newly announced Valkyria Chronicles for the Nintendo Switch, so we did talk about that. So it'll be for a reduced price. So if you buy Valkyria Chronicles 4 in Japan, you'll get a reduced price of 500 yen on the Nintendo Switch version of Valkyria Chronicles. So that's pretty cool. Now, Valkyria Chronicles 4 launched for the PlayStation 4 in Japan on March 21st. It will launch for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch this fall in the Americas and in Europe. We also have some brand new gameplay footage. First ever Valkyria Chronicles 4 running on the Nintendo Switch. It's looking okay, but it's handheld mode. Obviously, the camera and everything, not the best, but it does seem like it's running pretty good. But this is a game, Valkyria Chronicles, that should have no problem being on the Nintendo Switch, just because from what I've seen, what they've done with the engine, they've made some enhancements. Obviously, it looks a lot better. From Valkyria Chronicles 1 to Valkyria Chronicles 4, they've improved the backgrounds and the resolution on the PS4. That's higher. But the art style and kind of the way that it plays, it really will be fine on the Nintendo Switch. You really shouldn't notice too much from what I'm seeing here. Now, obviously, we still need to see a little bit more. I don't know if the frame rate is going to be 30 frames per second, but like I've talked about many times, this is a strategy action, turn-based RPG. So you can play it at 30, you can play it at 60, doesn't really matter. I played the original Valkyria Chronicles at 30, I played Valkyria Chronicles on the PS4 at 60, and I honestly couldn't tell the difference because I'm so worried about just making sure I get to my cover, get to my spot, shoot the people, do what I need to do, strategize and all of that. So I mean, either way, it's fine. You can still play the PS3 version to this day. You can buy it and play it, and it's just fine. So I'm excited just to have Valkyria Chronicles on the Nintendo Switch. And Valkyria Chronicles 4, based on everything that I've seen so far, it's actually looking pretty good. But I do want to say real quick, guys, we have to wait and see what the final specs are and everything. I don't know. They haven't announced it, so I don't know if it's 30 or 60 or anything like that. So we can save those questions for like a later date. I don't know what the resolution is either. So they didn't talk about any of that, guys. But overall, it's looking okay based on what I'm seeing here, and I'm excited for it. And it's better that they just launch it. I guess if it's already going to be late, right? Why stagger the launches? Why go in the summer in Japan, then go in the fall, you know, a couple months later? Just release everything at the same time if you can, or just makes sense, in my opinion, just to do that. Now, they're going to get some big hitters when it comes to the fall. I don't know exactly when they're going to launch it. October is stacked. Doesn't seem like it's going to come September, but it might. But there's a lot of games, September, October, November. So they're going to launch it sometime in those 3 months if it's not going to be summer. So yeah, I think the Nintendo Switch version has a very good chance to do well or do the best, just because the PS4 and Xbox One are getting games shoved down their throat. There's way too many games for people to even buy, and I think Valkyria Chronicles 4 might get lost in the shuffle, definitely on Xbox One. I think people will pick it up more on PC and PS4, so we'll see how the Nintendo Switch version does. So what do you guys think about all this news when it comes to Sega, man? There's been a ton of stuff. Valkyria Chronicles 4, Valkyria Chronicles, the original, coming over to Nintendo Switch. Super hyped about that. In addition to that, we also have the SEGA Dreamcast and SEGA Saturn games potentially coming over if SEGA Ages, the original 15 titles, do well. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Really helps us spread the content of players across the internet in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube live gaming pages and consider supporting Player Essence. When you do so, it gives you access to all sorts of cool benefits, perks, rewards, and emotes via YouTube sponsorship. So check out the link in the description below and consider supporting Player Essence right here on YouTube. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to Player Essence for the latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you, Ninja, for the next video. Peace.